one of the Achilles heels for many producers, making properly hard-hitting grooves. I get it, it can be hard to understand the intricacies of a good hard-hitting groove. But don't be afraid, I'm here to hold your hand and show you how to make it. The hard groove starts with a good kick. Where to find good kick for hard techno? There is only one place. This is where I get mine. We have this. I'm gonna make it shorter. It kind of has this analog dirt. It just makes it warmer and nicer to my taste. Let's do it 4 to the floor. We are at 155, so really hard techno BPM. Now, for this type of hard-hitting groove, you have to build a bit of layer with your basses because they are really full. And the way I like to start is always put first your sub bass and build upon it. I actually don't like using rolling bass lines when it's so high in the BPM for the sub bass because there's not enough space to go up and down. So we're gonna build one long sub bass. For the sound, be really minimal. So we have this soft tooth, filter on top, no effects whatsoever. Very simple. However, we want to have sidechain to the kick, so make this transition here when the kick and sub hits smoother. How do you do this? You can use any sidechain plugin that you want. Because people were complaining that I'm using too much external effects, this time we are making our decker inside Ableton. We have the shaper automating the gain. So basically sidechaining to the kick. And then slight EQ to make it a bit like darker and emptier in the middle. The reason for this one is actually creating space for the layers that we are going to add on. On this one, you want a grit bass, something with a lot of punch and body. To grit the work, you have to have a lot of distortion and you have to nail that in your face feeling. First we have a sawtooth and then another oscillator. This is mostly for modulating this one a bit. So, right? It gives this metallic character. And the movement on the filter comes from this nice gradual increasing envelope. And then what you need, compress it, OTT, distort it, and equalize it. Now if you play together, they will sound a bit weird. Too bassy, right? Remove all the low and just be the regular high pass. I don't care too much about the phase here. If you're worried about the phase, you can just import utility and flip the phases. It's really the same, right? It doesn't matter that much. And then we're gonna use the ducker again to build that sucking in sidechain kick effect. However, this is like a top bass. This is the ambient, so we need a bit more whole feel on the background. We're gonna add a reverb chain, so we have this whole thing. And together now we have this. If you feel like you're going to try these, please consider like and subscribe, and I promise I will make more videos like this for you. Now, this actually can be many times already enough for a bass line in a hard track. However, in the parts where the drop comes in, you want to have sometimes even more excitement. So we will call this one the main low end, and then the rest we will call the aux basses. So when you need that type of hard-hitting part, you can activate the aux basses to emphasize the groove. And for the aux basses, you actually really can go out of what you did in the low end itself. In the low end, we had this upbeat. So good. But we can put a rolling bassline or the raised bassline, whatever bassline you want on top of this, because again, it will be an octave up, it will be more like a color. But remember that if you have another bassline on top, you again need to shave those tops a little bit more, so there's a space on top of this. So what I'm going to do, you can use EQ like this. And all that low and now kind of low pass and contained a little bit. This one just gives me room for designing my high bass a bit better. Then you can adjust the EQ depending on how you feel. So let's go rolling bass line. We're in the E, just a regular rolling bass line. Now the sound is very important. You want to sound bright and in your face. And remember, we are an octave up. So if you just take a look at the EQ, you will see, right? 93, 165. Even that part is not that loud. So we are really focusing on those mid-low. Okay, how to make sound? Again, I'm keeping things but focusing on certain areas. We have this. It's from my Forge bag, by the way. If you want to get hold of this type of aggressive sounds, either take a look at my Forge or Verge Techno packs. They have like this type of tones of sounds. But we have first this simple rolling. Important thing is having this very sharp envelope. So it's very tight because we are rolling very fast. At 155 BPM, it's very fast. And this long envelope on top. And the noise part is important because noise will add now a lot of excitement. And then we go to effects, making it even more dynamic by automating high boost and low cut like this. So that's like distorting even more body tuning and compressing. It's so in your face. To make this work even better, then we have just a slight EQ and then of course sidechain to the kick. But this time your sidechain is not that aggressive. We are letting the initial pass a little bit through. So it's like together. Now we have this. Without the EQ cut that we did, you see that the sounds will combine a bit too much. The way in a track that actually you use this, you start the track like this without the rolling bass line. Like this. And in the climax, in the part that you really need a lot of energy, then you low pass this part and activate the aux basses. We are not done now. We can make it even more crazier, more aggressive by kind of finding sample or utilizing another really high-end screech type of sound. I have this sample over here. This is already processed, so there's nothing to do, but the idea is more important. We have this type of very screechy sound. And this is gonna make things even crazier. Again, this sits quite high. When you activate it, if you know my channel, I don't actually like to build my basses this way, but genres are different and considering genre specific techniques are important. So I wouldn't make a melodic techno low end like this, but I will definitely go for creating this type of very hard-hitting techno grooves, right? The one thing that you can do actually, if you want to make the groove even more in your face, you can take that kick and put it on the offbeat and actually smooth it out a little bit, so that the initial bump a bit softer, so it's a bit also sucking effect, and low pass it very hard, so you have this kind of almost tone-like effect to emphasize that kind of pumping feel even more, like this. Do you hear that? Well, it's very subtle. You can make it, of course, less subtle, almost like a rumble, but much more defined and in-your-face rumble in this case. But it's up to you. It's not a must, but it is something that I do really enjoy in a track like this. So like this now. In a club, this hits super hard. But, of course, for a groove, you need the drums. Now, don't exaggerate your drums if you want to go for this type of rich bass. We are not making shrubs, so there is not so much industrial drums in this one. We are making more like main room hard techno style. So there will be most of the times you either have vocals or melodies or synths on this, so you need to give space to them. Let's start with a simple clap, a little bit reverb on top. Again, see how much I'm actually high passing the sound. Again, we have so much things going on. I want to cut out as much space possible in the mid area. Distortion and a slight compression. Now we have this. And for the hi-hats, now this is the place you can do quite many cool tricks, to be honest. We will start with the 16 hat. The sound itself is very simple and we have slight groove on it, but we will create even more groove. But first, adding a velocity randomness. This will just increase the randomness of each hit. But then I'm gonna get a shaper and add this to the volume, so it's kind of creating sidechain kick feel, but not really. It has this kind of nice groove on top, right? And then we go to controls and we random pan, so it's also panning right left as well. So this will add a lot of space and depth immediately to the groove that you have without almost taking no space whatsoever, especially when you like excite the highs a little bit more. Listen to this. Do you see how immediately it opens up the mix without? This is due to the human earrings focusing much more in the mids and high mids when it comes to stereo image. So we immediately realized how spacious it gets when you do this trick. But this is not enough. I want more groove. What do? We get serum, keep the 16 style, we create very short envelope. But then we take LFO2, like we did with the shaper, and put it on the level. More importantly, we also put it on the decay. So this will lead to kind of this opening up, getting bigger hi-hat feel. And this is a noise, so it is just there to excite the track. Listen. Right? It's one of the simplest ways to actually excite your hat and add movement to them. Listen now. It don't feel like there are two hats. It feels like one hat is opening. You can do this by automating the decay as well, but I feel like when you do with the white noise, it feels the high-end spectrum a bit more. It excites a bit more. Now listen again. Immediately groove starts to live and breathe. And final step is of course just emphasizing those off hats. So we have this like boom pa feel. For that, again we utilize velocity to add a bit of randomness, but this time if you take a look, we have this layering going on here with this, and then we just have these accent hats to just make it a bit groovier. Together we turn into this. I'm of course adding quite a bit of distortion on top. And again exciting this area and such subtle glue compression. This is actually sent to plate reverb here. All drums are sent to plate reverb to create this room feeling. They sit beautifully in a room. And final step is just adding a drone. You can use anything for this one. This is really tasting. This is coming from my Silk preset bag. It's just like this hooing drone sound. It fits to this track because we have this kind of, I don't know how to explain, hooing vibe in the whole track. The one thing that you can do, you can duplicate this and create actually a bit more like a turnarounds with your kicks by utilizing this type of hits. For example, here at around 4 bar, we are doing a turnaround, just exciting the track a bit. Right? And all together, now we have this gorgeous groove going on. The one thing that I like to do oftentimes actually add a bit saturation and limiting to the low end group just to catch the low end peaks and glue them a bit together like this. And you can do the very similar things with your drums as well. And then we have this really glued together perfection. This is actually groove of the template that I create for hard techno producers. But if you want to stay here and learn more about techno production, I have a video over here for you. Take a look.